Let's be honest, most people choose a gas grill because it's convenient. You turn a knob and you can start cooking in minutes. But whether that grill performs the way it should is another matter. You know what I'm talking about. The surface never gets hot enough, or it's too hot and too cold in different places at the same time, or it barely has enough space to grill a few burgers, never mind a holiday turkey, or it immediately starts getting wobbly and wonky. The bottom line, if you want to get the most out of your backyard cooking, you need a well-designed, responsive, durable grill. Now, we bought 6 gas grills priced under $500, and we fired them up to cook everything from burger patties to thick strip steaks and 5-pound pork butts that we smoked for hours. We checked that a 12-pound turkey fit under the lid with room to spare, and we also used white bread to map each grill's heating pattern, and thermometers to see how the grills retained heat over time, which is really key for tender barbecue and grill roasting. Now, as we cooked, we also considered how easy they were to use and clean, and whether their design was efficient and sturdy. Now, as you know, there are 2 kinds of grilling, direct and indirect. In direct grilling, you put the food right over the fire and cook it quickly, like for burgers or steaks. Now, here you want the heat to be strong and even across the grill surface. To map the grill's heating patterns, we preheated them for 15 minutes, then quickly laid on slices of white bread. Now, some of the grills left the bread horribly patchy, with burned blackened toast in some areas and white pale slices in others. The best were all nice and golden, which tells us that the heat was spreading evenly across the surface for good, uniform, controlled cooking. Was this a fluke? No, because when we spread burgers across the whole surface, we saw these patterns again. Some burgers were practically burned, while others were nearly raw. But the grills that had toasted the bread to a nice even gold also made it easy to cook dozens of perfect burgers. And when we grilled expensive strip steaks, the cost of buying a bad grill became even more evident. Are you going to pay top dollar for beautiful steak and then struggle to not burn it? Do you want a soggy, pale crust instead of crisp, sizzling grill marks? What a waste. Then there's indirect cooking. When you're grill roasting larger cuts of meat or smoking foods, you want low and slow, steady heat over a long period of time in a closed grill. Now, our recipe for smoky pulled pork on the gas grill calls for preheating the whole grill, then leaving one burner on and turning the others off. You set wood chips on the lit burner to generate smoke, and you put water pans under the grate on the unlit side to keep it steamy and moist, and set the meat on top. We did this test 2 times because the results were hard to believe. The first time, only a few grills brought the meat up to an internal temperature of 200 degrees in the proper time frame. The rest had us waiting and waiting and waiting for meat that never reached temperature. And even after more than twice the usual time frame in our recipe, after many hours, that meat stayed tough as a rubber ball, and it completely lacked smoke flavor. Now, we knew this recipe usually produced tender, smoky, fall-apart meat. So what was going on? The answer lies in how gas grills work. There are a few factors that all work together or don't. Now, first is the direction of the airflow. In gas grills, heat rises straight up from the burners, which are just perforated metal tubes of flame. Now, since the only vents are across the back of the cookbox, the heat travels up and then directly out the back of the box. And that brings us to the second important factor, the position of the burners. Some gas grills have burners that run side to side, so you can light the burner in front, put the meat behind it, and heat and smoke travel over it on the way out the back. But most grills now, including every one in our lineup, have burners that run front to back. And that means the meat is off to one side over unlit burners. So when all the heat and smoke goes straight out the back of the grill, it bypasses the meat. The third factor is what's called flavorizer bars, or flame tamers. These little tent-like pieces of metal sit under the grate over each burner, and they're very important. They work 3 ways: as a shield so drippings don't clog up the burners, as a place for those drippings to hit and vaporize into flavorful smoke that gives your food grill flavor, and finally, as a way to spread the heat of the burners across the surface of the grill. Without them, you'd have heat just coming straight up from the flaming tubes, so you get hot spots over them and cold everywhere else. With the flame tamers, the heat comes up, hits the flame tamer, splits, and spreads. And in the best grills we tested, there were even a few extra flame tamer bars or similar constructions, which were great because they spread that heat even more. And the final factor is the cookbox. If the cookbox was thick and heavy duty, it made an oven-like environment that trapped and radiated heat. If it was thin and flimsy, no dice. And if it had a million vents across the back, as many of our grills did, all that heat and smoke zipped right out, leaving the meat undercooked. Our favorite had only one vent, a narrow slit less than a ½ inch wide across the back of the box, and it had a thick cast aluminum cookbox. And these work together to hold more heat and smoke in the box and with the meat to give it terrific smoke flavor and tender texture. So no matter what they say at the store about huge numbers of burners or more BTUs, which are just the units of heat output that salespeople love to brag about, if that heat is not spread throughout the grill and held in the cookbox where you want it, you're not going to get great cooking results. So while we tested 3, 4, and 5 burner grills, our favorite had just 3 burners and among the lowest total BTUs, but it gave us the best food. It's called the Weber Spirit E310. This grill did great in direct grilling because it has 5 flavorizer bars that really spread the heat across the grates evenly. For indirect grill roasting and smoking, its thick cast aluminum cookbox and its single skinny narrow vent across the back kept the heat and the smoke in, so meat came out tender and smoky every time. And best of all, while the other grills got rattly and wonky with doors falling off and wheels sticking, the Weber stayed intact and sturdy, and it rolled smoothly throughout our testing. It even has a fuel gauge built in, so you always know how much gas is in the tank. At $499, the Weber Spirit E310 is our new favorite gas grill.